Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special series on the special town meeting to be held November 2nd, 2025 at 1 p.m. Remember, that's a Sunday. We're here today to talk about the fire station renovation project and specifically the design ask that's going to be made at town meeting. We're going to ask voters to support the design funding that will allow the renovation to happen. I'm joined by a couple special guests, but I'll introduce myself first. I'm Ryan McLean, I'm the town administrator, and I'm joined by
Brian Sars, I'm the fire chief.
And I'm Scott Triola, chair of the Carlisle Select Board.
I like having you guys introduce yourselves because everyone knows you better than they know me. So it's just an interesting way to start. We're going to talk about this warrant article and the things that you need to know in order to make an informed vote. And I thought, of course, we'd start with the history of the project. So we were just joking before we started this. Chief, do you know anything about the history of this project?
Yeah, it's been planned for a long time. So in about 1985, the current fire station was built. If any of you remember, the previous station was where the police station is now. It was very small and didn't serve the town for what they needed. So they built the current station. At the time they built it, they knew they were going to need to expand it. So they planned to be able to put offices and on all of the things that are missing like that upstairs on another floor, and they made it possible to build onto the back to add extra bays. They planned for one thing when they got a ladder truck to get another bay, and they got the truck but no extra bay. At the time we started in looking at upgrading the station, we started to look at adding a story and found that the building codes have changed, so we really can't make major modifications to our current building. So that's where we are now in the concept of building an addition onto the back that has both the bays and on top of it the offices and more clean spaces that the building needs.
And I would say in 2017, the TVA architects did a town facilities condition study. And in that study, they assessed the various buildings in town. And for the fire station, they noted the insufficient space for fire apparatus, equipment storage, lack of proper live workspaces, including a kitchen room, a bunk room, offices. And also they identified $1.7 million in capital projects at that time. So out of that came initiatives to look at our public safety facilities, the police station, the fire station, and work was done to identify options for a combined facility, separate facility, renovations. And at the time, the cost of doing that was deemed too expensive for the town and reached $28 million just for a combined facility. So out of that, the town put together some working groups to look at the fire station in specifics. And in 2021 to 2023, the Public Safety Facilities Task Force was formed, and they did additional work looking at the fire station and the police station. Ultimately, some work was done, but there were some iterations in the project. The select board last year came on board and really made a commitment to look at the fire station. And since that time, we've worked with CMS as our project manager. We've worked with Tecton Architects to identify the needs, work with the fire department on their space needs, come up with conceptual designs. We've refined those designs, and we're at a point where we want to bring forward to the town this request for funding to move this project forward.
So it has a significant history,
yes,
as you laid out. And my first day here, or my first interaction with the chief, we went over the building, and you identified in those needs studies and that history why the capital need is there, why the building needs to be upgraded. But I think the main question people are going to ask prior to town meeting and at town meeting and after town meeting is, why do we need this renovation? And not only is it the building, but it's also the service delivery, right? Do you want to talk about that, Chief?
Right. So the current building has no space for offices. There's one office in the building. We double up the training rooms and all. The size of the department that we now need for we have more people working a smaller amount is kind of the way things have been working, but we need to train them all. We need a training room that can handle all of those people. We need an environment that is attractive. We have an on-call department, so people can leave at any time and it won't affect their livelihood. So we need, and then the other thing is that we've come to a world where it is harder and harder to recruit people within, say, 4 minutes of the station. So in order to have recruit from a larger area, we need a station that can support people actually physically being there when they want to do that and when we need that. So that includes the ability to do bunk rooms, the ability to have office space, people can do remote work there, and the ability to do some of the things like exercise in the building. The other part of that is to have an environment that people want to be in and want to be part of the community of the fire department. So all of these are important. The other kinds of things is we're recruiting. We were at one point about a quarter of our people were women. We have no facilities for women in our station, and there's a lot of people have recognized a lot of safety issues in terms of hazardous materials and in terms of cancer and things like that we are just not equipped for in our station, and our station really, without an improvement, can't handle and can't treat our people the way we should be treating our people.
It's fair to say that the recruitment pool that we've been looking at has changed over time. We're looking at a part-time job for many people. You're drawing from students, med students, other people that are interested in fire or becoming a full-time firefighter. And I think it's fair to say that those people might not be able to afford living in Carlisle or around Carlisle, which makes that four-minute mark tough to hit.
That's correct. And we've had a very good luck with students, people, pre-med, people who want to go into medicine, people who want to go into the fire service. We've had good luck in recruiting them. It is hard for them to become a part of. The reason you do this is because you're part of the community. And if they're not part of the Carlisle community, then you're part of the fire department community. And it's very difficult to do that in a station where you just have no facilities for people to be there, other than when a call is going on. So these kinds of things are important. And a call department for a town like Carlisle is, if we can keep it, is a wonderful thing. We do not have fire hydrants. If we had 3 or 4 people on shift, we'd have a very different department, and we have very different services than we can do now. Right now, we can do 2 ambulances. Nobody has waited mutual aid for an ambulance for years. We have the 2, and to do water supply, it's not just 4 guys. It's 12, 15, 18 people. The last several fires we've had over 20 people respond, and that's how we can efficiently do what we need to do and safely do what we need to do.
So from the fire service delivery side, call firefighting matches the Carlisle community. And Scott, I know you've been on the finance committee for a long time and the select board. Why is it a best financial decision for the town?
I think one of the eye-opening things for me and for the other members of the committee I was working on to look at and assess the fire station was the economic side of maintaining an on-call department. I think, as a resident, you just know it's an on-call department, but you don't think about the implications of that, both from a service delivery standpoint, from being able to staff the apparatus we have and respond to fires, but the economic benefit to the town of on-call is significant. If you look at how much we spend on staffing for our current on-call force, it's approximately $300,000 to $400,000 per year. If you look at the cost of maintaining a minimum career department, and we've looked at this ourselves, we've also had MRI assess this for us, which is an independent body. The cost of going to a combination of on-call and career firefighters would add over $1 million a year to our operating budget in staffing costs and related costs. If we have to transition to a full career department, meaning we're relying on professional firefighters, that would add over $2 million to our annual operating budget. So maintaining our on-call force has a real economic benefit to our operating budget, to our town, to the tune of $1 to $2 million per year.
Yeah, one thing that's a big eye-opener for a number of people is when they realize in most towns with career departments, the fire department staffing costs more than police department staffing, and that's an eye-opener.
Yeah.
And that's something. So it's not. our goal is to provide better services and do it cheaper. It's not one or the other, it's both.
And to the chief's point, the other thing that we do see in Massachusetts and nationwide is it is increasingly hard to recruit and retain on-call volunteers. And so for Carlisle, it's very important that we maintain the strong culture we have and the strong management of the fire department that we have to both recruit and retain our firefighters. And going forward, the station is going to be a big part of that in terms of providing, supporting the operations of the fire department, certainly improving and maximizing the health and safety for our volunteer firefighters, but also providing those live and work spaces where they can come and stay at the station and be available, whereas now there's no space for that. So that affects people's availability. If they can't physically be in Carlisle, right now they can't be on call. The station, part of the goal of the station and the key goal is to provide a space where they can come in and be at the station when otherwise they couldn't be.
And I encourage people to come take a tour of the fire station. I know the chief has offered that, but if you were to look for space to quote unquote work for home while being on call for the fire, you would see that that's not possible.
And I will add, there is now a video tour on the project website. If you're not able to take a physical tour of the fire station, there is a video tour of that shows the different areas of the fire station, and the chief is providing that tour so people can see and hear about the different spaces we have and the different space needs we have.
Yeah, fire departments make do, and we have for 30 years, but we've come to the end of our ability to do that, and we need something in addition.
So Scott, you referenced working with our project manager, our designer, the chief,
Yep.
the apparatus committee, the select board. There's been a lot that's gone into this current design, and
Yes.
we now have a design.
Yes.
Right now it's a conceptual design. You're going to hear, just to the residents, you're going to hear a lot of words. So conceptual design is, here is the concept that we're
Yep.
showing you to try to build. And what's being asked now is to move it from a concept to a schematic design and actual construction documents, which would be the next ask. So this ask is about finishing that design. You want to talk about how we've gotten to that process?
Sure. So, as I said, last year, the select board spent a fair amount of time doing RFPs and interviewing and selecting both the project architect and the project manager. In April, the architect provided an initial set of options for a conceptual design that didn't meet the needs at the time or needed to be refined prior to last town meeting. But at last town meeting, we asked the town to support an article that provided funding to do that work, to do that additional conceptual design work over the summer, which the town approved overwhelmingly. So since annual town meeting in May, the summer has been spent on a couple of different things. One has been refining the conceptual design, and that's the architect working with the chief to ensure that the conceptual design is meeting his needs. It's working with the select board to ensure that the conceptual design meets our project goals and our needs for the town. At the same time, we had a committee that I was on and included members of the finance committee, the municipal facilities committee, environmental sustainability, looking at the fire apparatus and some of the needs associated with that to further inform what the requirements for the project were. So our architect Tecton was working with us through that process, and in September, after some iterations, we arrived at a conceptual design that met the select board's goals and needs, met the fire department's goals and needs, and was one that we were comfortable moving forward with in terms of getting both a cost estimate, which is what's driving the ask at town meeting, but also being able to recommend to the town to take this next step in the project. And so we're at a point where, as you said, we have a conceptual design that the select board supports, and they support this article that's being presented. 5-0 is the vote on that. And at town meeting, we're asking the town to also support the conceptual design and provide the funding needed to move to the next step, which is going from the conceptual design to creating the construction documents, the detailed schematics, and doing all the detailed work required to take this project to bid, so that then we can, at a future town meeting, present a project budget based on those bids.
So there'll be two big votes, one for
Yep.
this design process, which is what's being asked at this town meeting.
Yes.
And then the next big vote will be the project itself.
Yeah, and I will add the way we're handling this is that at town meeting, it will require a 2/3 vote to approve the funding at town meeting, followed by a vote at the ballot to approve the debt exception. So there's going to be two steps in this initial vote to both approve the funding at town meeting and then a subsequent vote on November 13th at the ballot to support that as well.
Okay. And at this design phase now, we have a cost estimate for the project.
Yes.
The cost estimate for the project is 16.7 million to 17.2. The reason for the range is it's a concept, but
Yep.
we feel really good about the estimate at its current state. And then if voters approve the design phase, then the next estimate should be, if not exact, almost exact, so that voters know exactly what's being going for. But if you're going to vote for this part of it, you need to understand the project budget. And it's 1.4 million is the ask for the design. Design typically runs about 15% of the total project budget, and it doesn't just include, the fancy drawings. It's the legal requirements, the site investigations, all the permitting work. It involves the owner's project manager and everything that the state requires that we do, because no one on staff is an engineer and all of this needs to be designed correctly. So it's not 1.4 just for the architect. There's a lot of costs in there to include contingency.
Right.
Right. So based on these further designs, then they can actually bid it
Right.
and get real costs and what it was really going to cost to do. We've already been in discussions with the architect that there's a lot of things that we're going to sharpen our pencil and make sure we have right and make sure we're doing it in the most efficient and cost-effective way.
Yeah. Some towns do this where they just say we're going to design and bid it and give you a project estimate that might be inflated to cover for contingencies. Then you see at a subsequent town meeting there's some correction. The board has decided to go with this strong estimate and design cost, followed by a more exact estimate for building construction.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so for timeline, we discussed this. We talked about the town meeting on November 2nd and maybe November 3rd, depending on how town meeting goes, where the first vote will be taken, and then November 13th is the special election. One question: do you or do you not support this project? And hopefully, all of that leads into another discussion in the spring about the actual project. During that time, if you're interested in getting involved in this project or understanding where it's at, several open houses and the ability for residents to see the actual fire station. Plus, it'll be discussed at the select board and in a building committee publicly, this iteration of design so that people can see where it's at and where it's going.
And I would add, on October 14th, depending on when people are viewing this, there will be a tour, and Tecton will be at Town Hall giving a presentation on the conceptual design and there to answer questions. And that will also be recorded and posted on the project website. So anyone that's watching this can go both see the tour and view the Tecton presentation on the design prior to town meeting.
And I think there's going to be a fun game at the open house where you have to see if you can get through the door and under the ambulance in order to get in the ambulance, because it doesn't quite fit.
Yeah.
That's something you showed me on day one.
That's right.
All right, so in terms of getting more information about this project, I believe there's a town meeting or town website for this particular project. What can people find on that?
So there is a project website or project webpage on the town website. And we'll put the link up on the screen. On that site, you can find information on the existing fire station, which includes the tour of the fire station, the video tour you can watch. It includes information on the project background, so you can see some of the presentations that have been made in the past about it, and also some of the documents themselves if you want to understand what's happened prior to this request at town meeting. And there's also information on both the conceptual design with some imagery and floor plans, as well as information on the financial impact of the project.
Very great. So if you want more information, this video, we have tours, we have the website, and there'll be a presentation at town meeting. We ask you if you have any questions or concerns about the project that we have the chance to explain it to you and go over it so that you understand what you're voting for and why this is important for the town. And I never ask people how they're going to vote, but Chief, do you think you're going to be supporting this project?
I am.
Good, you heard it here. We have one vote for the project.
It has been a very well vetted project, sometimes painfully so, but it's been very well vetted, and I think the town is going to be very happy with this asset that will serve them well into the future.
And your professionalism during this process has been great. I know you've been advocating for it for a long time, and allowing everyone to work through it, I think, has created just a tremendous product that, like you said, will serve the town for years.
And he's been extremely patient with me and my fellow select board members and committee members. Going into this, I did not know much about the fire department. I certainly know much more, but I also have an appreciation for how little I still know. But the chief and the deputy chief and everyone involved have been very helpful, very cooperative, and very forthcoming with their opinions and the information. And I think that has yielded a lot of confidence in terms of what we're presenting to the town.
All right, we'll see you at an open house, a tour. We'll see you at town meeting and on election day, and we hope you support this project.